to get me where I'm trying to go. Stephen Mansfield, who is the CEO of Southern Methodist Hospitals, this chain of hospitals throughout Texas, a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Healthcare is a business. He also was the former president of the Dallas Regional Chamber of Commerce, and as he moved out of office, I was there. Incidentally, I am the first clergy to ever be on the executive board of the Dallas Chamber of Commerce. And there I am on the executive board. They control all the wealth that comes in and out of our city and all the planning and all the preparations to be able to move the city of Dallas forward. And there I am in a room full of CEOs and executives, and I'm listening at them talk, and I'm staring. I'm staring. I can tell a great preacher sitting in a crowd by how he stares while I'm preaching. It's all in the stare, brother. I'm staring, and Stephen says something. He said, all of us CEOs know it is not where we're trying to go that is the problem. You can get great consensus from all of your staff on the goal. And we spend all of our time talking about the goal of where we're trying to go. He said, but all of you CEOs know that's not the problem. It is not where we're trying to go that is the problem. It is what are you willing to leave behind to get there. When he said that, I ripped out my phone like I had to call somebody. I had both thumbs. I very seldom use both thumbs. I had both thumbs. I was just a peck at a peck at a peck. Is what are you willing to leave behind? If you're going to soar, if you're going to soar, you have to break a law to soar. The law is the law of gravity. The Wright brothers had to figure this out, that every time they tried to go up, Isaac Newton was right. Something kept pulling them down. There are people in this room that every time they go after their dream, something keeps pulling them down. They want to open up a not-for-profit. They want to open up a healthcare. They want to open up a home for unwed mothers. There's some lovely, good things. It's not about being rich. It's about purpose that they're trying to do, but every time they try to do it, that something keeps pulling them down. There is a law that always wants to pull you down to where you came from. You came from the dirt, and where you came from will always call you back. You have to escape the gravitational pull of where you came from. And in order to do that, you have to break through into a higher law. The higher law is the law of aerodynamics. But you have to break into it, and what I need the force for it, the reason I need the runway to get my engines ramped up is because when I come up against it, and this is where young people make a mistake, they underestimate the pull to fall backwards. They saw planes take off and they said, I can do that, but they underestimate how much force it takes to break through the gravitational pull that brings you back down. So when they fall back down, they give up on themselves and they stop believing in themselves. Whereas if you would just go faster at it and go harder at it, you would break through the law of gravity. Oh, hallelujah.
Wow.
You know? Everybody has something that's trying to pull you back to where you came from. And so when the Wright brothers built the plane, and the book is built around the Wright brothers, when the Wright brothers built the plane, they built it in Dayton, Ohio. And they built it in a...
Dayton!
Dayton! There's 3 old ladies over in the corner there from Dayton.
They're so happy.
I'm teasing, I can't even see. But they were in Dayton, Ohio. And they figured out, they built the first plane in a bicycle shop. They couldn't say to themselves, well, when I get what I need, I'm going to build a plane. We don't have a manufacturer. We don't have any backing. We don't have any money. And by the way, we don't even have a degree. But none of that stopped them from building. I wrote this book to people who don't have what they need. Okay? I didn't really write the book to big-time entrepreneurs. Because all of those books you're talking about, they got them. I wrote this book to people with big dreams and little resources. I wanted you to build your plane from a bicycle shop. And then they got it all built up and dated, and then they figured out something. And I can cite, I do in the book, I cite examples of things that I did that succeeded or failed off of this next thing. They said, we have to move to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, There were two reasons. One, if it came back down, it would fall in the brush and the landing would be better. And the second reason was the wind was right. There are times you can do the right thing in the wrong wind. Okay? Some of the things I tried didn't work because I didn't study the trend. I studied the plane, but I didn't study the trend and the wind that's necessary. Success has a lot to do with wind. If Colonel Sanders came along today and started KFC today, he'd go broke. Because today we're all worried about, carbs and fat grams and all this stuff. I'm a vegetarian, all of this stuff. We're reading the labels and all of that stuff. But he started his business at a time that women had just gone to work and families were used to home-cooked meals. His business solved a problem. The stats say that people who go into business because they want money are apt to go out of business 80% of the time. People who go into business who are successful don't go into business based on their need, they go into business based on their customers' need. If your business or church or ministry solves a problem, it requires less marketing. You don't have to talk me into wanting something I need. But when I don't need it, you got to spend a whole lot of money talking me into something. So you want your business to be a solution. In fact, you want your life to be a solution. Nobody sends for a problem, they only send for an answer. If you're feeling lonely and you're feeling rejected, figure out how you can be an answer to somebody's problem and they'll always invite you. Because people invite answers, they repel problems. So when you come in the room giving problems, it is the most unsexy thing you can ever do in the world.
It's true.
Somebody far less cute can get much further than you because they don't moan and groan and complain. Really, when people ask you how you're doing, they don't really want an answer. We're not serious. Don't sit down there, well, I'm doing fairly well, but my knee is hurting and my back has been hurting from time to time. And when it rains, my eye starts twitching. I got a little pain going on right here. It's driving me absolutely crazy. And I just don't know what in the world I'm going to do because I got a thumbnail growing over here. It's just that's why I didn't wear the shoes I want to wear with this stretch. Because, get out of here, get out of here, crazy.
Bring solutions.
Bring solutions.
Bring solutions.
Bring solutions as a person. Bring solutions as a business. Bring solutions as a ministry. And you will always soar.
When's the first time you saw yourself as a solution?
I wrote Woman Thou Art Loose, and I didn't even know how to write a book.
Really?
No, I didn't know nothing about writing a book. I didn't know a thing about
How old were you?
book. In my 20s, somewhere in my 20s, late 20s. I wrote the book in a PC study Bible notepad because I didn't know what a word processor was. So there was a friend of mine named Pastor Clifford Frazier, who we were just getting into computers and stuff, us old guys. We was getting 28 old guys. We were just getting into it. And he said, why did you write all of this in a notepad? He said, it'd be so much better if you wrote it in a word processor. I said, what's that? I had written almost the whole book in the notepad of a PC study Bible. So it wasn't that I was proficient. It was that I had heard the cry of women who were hurting, sexually and emotionally abused, who were hidden in our churches at that time, and the church was ran by men who were deaf to the cry of the women. And when I heard their cry, I thought that there were biblical solutions to sociological and emotional issues. And so I started trying to get an answer out. And when I started teaching it, it was a Sunday school class. And more women came, and more women came. I didn't know it was going to be a movement. I didn't know it was going to be a book. I did it first as a Sunday school class, and then I called Archie Dennis, and I told Archie, I'm teaching this class, and people are going crazy over it. I mean, my church is packed out. It's got like maybe 150 people. 150 people meant some people were outside. That's my bicycle shop. Never laugh at my bicycle shop. Despise not the day of small beginnings. Great things come out of small places. Woman Art Loose came out of that bicycle shop, okay? So I told Archie about it. Archie said, you should bring it to Pittsburgh. You know, he had this big rich voice. Archie Dennis used to sing for Billy Graham and Morris Sorrello and all those people. Oh, this big melodious voice, bring it to Pittsburgh. And so he announced that I was gonna bring it to Pittsburgh. No, he said, I'm gonna have you in Pittsburgh. And he says, what do you call it? And I thought, I don't know. I'm on the phone with him. This is exactly the way it happened. I said, I don't know. I guess I'll call it Woman Art Loose. That's what the Bible said. I'll call it Woman Art Loose. He said, okay. So he announced that I was going to teach Woman Art Loose.
Like that.
And so many women came, they had to move it out of the church into the hotel. Wow. So I took the CDs from the Sunday school class and put it with they were cassettes at the time, and put it with the cassettes, yeah, that's how old I am, and put it with the cassettes from Pittsburgh, and I had a 2-tape series. Okay. This is the truth. This is how it happened. Good. And when I got ready to do the book, I couldn't find a publisher that would do it. I finally found a publisher that would take my tapes and transcribe it into a book. But when I saw what they did with my answer, I got mad because it wasn't in my spirit. They were saying what women ought to do is such and such, what women ought to do. That was not my spirit. So out of desperation to protect the integrity of my spirit, I started pecking. And pecking and pecking and pecking. And nobody would publish what I was pecking. So I told my wife, see, I'm talking about things that would stop you. Okay, nobody wants to publish it. The first person who did it wrong. And now I've got all of this stuff crammed in the Species Study Bible, and now I'm trying to pull it out and put it in a word machine. And I told my wife, I said, nobody wants to publish it. And if I publish it myself, they want $15,000. Wow. $15,000 was all the money I had in the world. We were saving that money to get our first house. We didn't even own our house. And I was trying to get us a house. And I said, Sarita, I want to publish this book. And it's going to mean that I have to drain our savings to do it. She said, that's okay.
Wow.
And so she agreed, and we took the $15,000 and we published the book. And we got 5,000 copies. And I sold out in 2 weeks. Wow. So watch this. I didn't go out and buy me a suit, though I needed one. The lining had come out of my suit because she was washing it in the washing machine because we couldn't afford to go to the cleaners. So I didn't buy me a suit with it. I took the money and put it back in the business and published another 5,000. I had no idea that book would end up selling over 5 million copies. Be translated into 10 different languages. Be known to this day around the world in places I have never been. And it all started in my little bicycle shop. So when I talk to you about the Wright brothers soaring and catching the right wind, I'm talking to you about things I know that happen in my own life. I never let not having enough stop me from getting up.
Yeah. When you mentioned it's not where you want to go, it's what you give up to get there, what have you given up to get where you are that people in the room might be surprised to know?
It reminds me of a statement that somebody asked Catherine Kuhlman. Do y'all know who Catherine Kuhlman is? Catherine Kuhlman was a woman preacher when women preachers weren't cool. And she was preaching in California, and to some people, they're still not cool. And she was preaching in California and preaching for Full Gospel Businessmen Association. She was dramatic. Oh my God, look at him walking. The young man is walking. Anyway, okay. So Oh, come on. It's the dramatic side of me. I do movies, so what do you expect? So they asked her how much did it cost to be who she was. And she laughed. She said, simply everything, darling. Simply everything. That was so true. When you start talking about, I was walking through the airport when my ministry first started to explode. I was so distracted by the explosion that I didn't see the damage. Wow. An old preacher was coming through the airport in Charlotte. Yeah, it just dawned on me within Charlotte as you was there. When you live in West Virginia, if you wanted to go to heaven, you either had to go through Pittsburgh or Charlotte. And I was in the Charlotte airport, and this old bishop walked up to me, and he looked at me, and he shook his head. He said, he said, you've lost something. And I thought, what that was? He said, you've lost something that you'll never be able to regain. I said, what is that? He said, normalcy. It took me about 5 years to unpack that simple conversation. That you become a target by people who have never met you. That they would say the most hideous things about you. That your children would suffer from the things they wrote about you, trying to get their points up in their Nielsen ratings up, that they would eat you for dinner and save the story until sweeps month and drop it because you had a big audience so that they could get big ratings, and that my kids would have to grow up in the middle of all of that. I was distracted by the explosion, but I would come to see the damage. I would see it in the tears of my children, the pregnancy of my daughter, the pains of my son, holding my wife in tears. And I would hold her in tears and preach faith and go home and lay down in a bed of fear. I said, God, where have you taken me? I'm gonna tell you this, this is won't cost you, and I'm throwing it in free tonight. Tonight only. Now I'm gonna tell y'all, nobody else can hear this, just us, y'all gonna keep it. I almost quit. I'm a country boy, I'm from West Virginia. I don't know nothing about this big time stuff. I never even asked to be big. I wanted to be effective, not famous. Famous is the consequences of being effective. I didn't know nothing about being famous, and I didn't like it. And so there I was, and when you first knew, everybody attacks you first and figures you out later. Because though we say you're innocent until proven guilty, the reality is you're really guilty till proven innocent. But I didn't know that then, and I was young, upstart. You have to understand that you're looking at a 60-year-old man, but you're talking about something that's happening to a guy in his late 20s with little kids. And the first time I was in the Washington Post, the article was so vicious it made me nauseous. I was so shocked that you could say that stuff about somebody you didn't even know based on assumptions and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. They piece it all together, and you don't get to say anything back. So I decided I don't want this. I was preaching for Pastor Bishop Donnie Mears, and nobody knew it because preachers can override their feelings and function. I preached, the place was on fire, but inside I want to quit. I told God, I'm through with this. I'm not going through this. I don't need this. I don't need that. I'm a guy who likes to go get his own chicken wings. I don't have to have all of that stuff to be happy, because I wasn't raised with it. I can make it. You can throw me an apartment and give me just a little skillet, a cast iron skillet. You know what I'm talking about? And some seasoned salt and stuff and a couple of wings. I will run you out of here. I will run you out. Okay. So I thought, I'm not doing this no more. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this because I don't need this and I didn't ask for this. I'm only doing this because of what happened in my life, of the circumstances that happened in my life. He put me on stage. I didn't ask for it. And when I saw how much it cost, I thought, you can have that right back here. You had that right back up in there. I don't need it. So I was mad inside, and I was hurt. And I stayed up in the fellowship with the pastors because I didn't want to go back to my room and sulk in my own sorrows. And they said, there's a lady downstairs waiting to see you. The service was over and the fellowship was over and the pastor was starting to leave. I was trying to outwait her. I thought she'd give up and leave. And when I finally came down the steps, she was there. And she was just a willowy bit of a woman. And she said, Bishop Jakes, she said, I've been in the hospital. She said, I was pregnant in my fallopian tubes, and the baby died in my tubes, and I was carrying around a dead baby, and the toxicity from the baby almost killed me. Wow. And she said, the only thing that kept me alive was hearing you preach. She said, if you hadn't been preaching to me every day, I swear I would have died. And then she looked at me and she said, it's for us. It's not for them. It's for us. It hit me so hard. I didn't even get her name. I got in the car and cried all the way back to my room because she reminded me why I was there. I just left. Last week when I text you, I was up in Baltimore in D.C. and I was doing a book signing. And this woman came up to the table to buy Soar. She said, you don't remember me, do you? I said, no. She didn't even look like the same person. She's all dressed up, gained weight. She felt like she wanted to say. Wow. She said, I met you in the bottom of Donnie Mears church years ago, and I burst into tears. I lost it. I stopped the signing, and I jumped up and hugged her. If it were not for that woman, when you talk about what it cost, I'm going to my southern stuff now. Child, simply everything. What being a public figure does to you, everybody has an opinion about everything. What you wear, whether you shave your head or not, what you look like, you gain weight, you're fat. I mean, they say anything to you. And what has to happen to survive it, you have to get tougher. Not meaner.
Tougher.
Tougher.
What's the difference?
Mean is when you lash back, because in a fight like that, if God would turn me loose, woo, I felt something right there. If God would turn me loose, I could hold my own. I could hold my own in a street fight. Oh, glory to God. Woo, hallelujah, I got to second myself. Sometimes I beg him, I said, please let me get him. Please let me
Just
get
one
him.
time.
Just one time, Lord. Just one time. Sometimes I'll type it and have to delete it, because I swear, I could pull a paint off the wall if you turn me loose.
You should release a book, Things I Almost Tweeted.
Yeah. Oh, it would be good. It'd be a bestseller. It would be a bestseller for sure. But when I say tougher, your resilience and your resistance to the irrelevance of things that have nothing to do with your destiny are satanic distractions to move you away from where God has placed you. And you can't be, when I do a pastor's conference and I do Q&A, because I like to do Q&A because I like to talk to you, and they start asking me questions and stuff, generally somewhere along the night, somebody's going to come up and tell me about church split or somebody who's saying something about somebody who heard them like that. But when I'm talking to CEOs, incredibly successful people, when I'm talking to presidents and kings from around the world I've sat across from and talked to, when I get a chance to be in the room with executive and corporate executives and stars whose name, if I would list in here, everybody would know them, they're never talking about what people said because they have developed the toughness that is necessary to survive. Can I say one more thing real quick? I'm saying.
You could say a lot of more things.
Okay. I took my son up to the Rock of Gibraltar. My baby boy was with me. And his mom and I took him to the Rock of Gibraltar because we were on our way to Africa, and we stopped over in Spain, went to the Rock of Gibraltar. And the guide took us up to the top of the Rock of Gibraltar where all the battles were fought. And all of the enclaves are filled with outposts where you could defend the southernmost tip of Spain before you face the northern tip of Africa. And there, as we went up, spiraling up to the top of the mountain, the higher you went, there were monkeys. And they were jumping all over the cars and everything. And the guide said to us, he said, you know, in certain seasons, it gets so cold up here that when the monkeys first migrated up here in the winter, their tails would freeze off. That's how cold it was. He said, but eventually, when they started birthing their babies, they were born without tails because they had adapted to their environment. That's what I mean about toughness. If you are exposed to it long enough, you'll freeze your tail off.
It's amazing.
Tweet that, everybody. Say, oh, I got blessed at Soar, I froze my tail off. But if you, to those of you, however you define soaring and success, success for you might be raising 2 great kids. Success for you might be opening up a spa. Success for you might be opening up a home for unwed mothers, or it might be a corporate office on Wall Street. If you don't freeze your tail off, you won't be able to withstand what success costs. You have to freeze your tail off. And I can tell that a lot of people are not ready. See, when I first started writing this book, I thought I was writing that entrepreneurship was about a business and a company and an address and a location and getting a building or a facility or starting an E-Corp from your laptop or something like that. But when I got to writing it, while I was writing it, not when I started, while I was writing it, I realized it was a mindset. It's a mindset. It's the way you think about things. It's taking control of your destiny. See, if I come to work for you, and I would, if I come and work for you.
You would?
Oh yeah, I would, yeah. I come teach your Sunday school class. Yeah, let you have the problems I teach the class, yeah, that's a great deal. You can decide what you're gonna pay me as an employer to an employee, but you can't decide how much I'm gonna make. We have turned our income over into the hands of somebody who has no vision for our need.
Right.
Okay. You can pay me whatever you think the job is worth, but you can't pay me what I'm worth. You can't afford me. So I can have all of these multiple streams of income to subsidize your limitations.
Right.
Because if I have an entrepreneurial spirit, I am not limited like an eaglet to waiting for the mother bird to drop food in my mouth. Being an entrepreneur means that I have lifted up into the air and found my own wings.
You know, I'm so glad you said that, because I don't think you're talking about claiming our rights as much as taking responsibility for our own lives.
Absolutely.
It's a different mindset.
Absolutely. You know what's funny? You know what's funny about this conversation? This is exactly how we talk on the phone. Most of the time it's text. And he will text something that makes me get carpal tunnel trying to text back to him, because it'll be this long, exhausting book that I've got to send back to this answer, because he thinks so deep. You can tell how deep a person thinks by how they talk. He thinks so deep in this. And so you're just eavesdropping tonight on a conversation we would have whether you were there or not. Do you like it?